Hello, this is TelecomTV. We are in Dusseldorf in Germany at the SDN OpenFlow World Congress. My name is Martin Warwick and I'm talking with Guy Shemesh, who is a Senior Director, Cloud Business Unit at Alcatel-Lucent. Guy, welcome. Thanks for the time.
Thank you for having me, Martin.
Pleasure. I'd like to begin by asking you what your perception is of the growth and changes in the market over the past 12 months. The last one of these was held in Bad Homburg exactly a year ago. What's the difference?
Well, I think it's amazing. We see the shift of the conversation. We see the evolvement of the conversation. A year ago, or even in the last 2 years, most of our engagement with customers was about the why. Why you need NFV? Where do you need NFV? I think today the conversation evolved to not to the why, but to the how and when, which is quite amazing. I think that most of the big operators, at least, are at the stage that they do want to move forward with NFV architecture and with NFV technologies, and now they go into the next level of question: how to deal with it, where to start, which type of application, and the level of discussion and the level of engagement simply moved one step ahead, which is really amazing. I looked on the conference here, which is, I think it's sold out or something.
Yeah,
and again,
absolutely.
it reminded me that 2 years ago that a few crazy people came with some ideas. So that's really nice to see in the market.
2 years ago there were 300
Oh,
delegates. Now there are 1,300 and they turned people away. They couldn't fit them all in. So that gives some indication of the strength there is behind NFV and SDN.
yeah, and I think Cloudband specifically helped a bit to evolve that industry and also to evolve the technology. And I think on the personal level, it's really fulfillment to see the level of engagement and where we are today compared to this crazy idea we had a few years ago.
And it's interesting you mentioned the cloud, because of course cloud is the enabler in all of this. So NFV is very important, so is SDN, but so too is the cloud. Without that, be a non-starter to begin with.
Yeah.
What about challenges? We were seeing a lot of solutions and problems solved. What major challenges do you think remain?
So I can tell you where we are, with customers, and everybody start to do trials, and I think there were several announcements that we can speak a bit later about with KT and NTT Docomo. I think I see the operators are going to the next level of, okay, how I'm going to operate all of that? What will be the roles and responsibilities? I have several vendors that are going to provide me an application. I have an orchestrator, I have an infrastructure. How it's going to work and how I'm going to transform my operations from the existing siloed approach when one team responsible for everything to a team that's responsible for the infrastructure and a consumer team that's responsible for the application. So this is a big challenge. I think there are a lot of concerns with some of the operators how to operate it all. Another area of at least questioning the security and roles and responsibilities as well. And this is a type of discussion that we have today with operators, is really getting into the smaller details, how you integrate it all to your OSS, how you operate it all, so the change won't be so dramatic for operators to do.
While we're on the subject of the operators, are they falling into any particular traps, any pitfalls that they're making? You've seen sort of repeating itself here and there. Are there lessons to be learned?
Yeah, actually, I see quite a bit. There are a lot of questions. Obviously, some of the operators still have debate. I think one of the things that I see is some of them prefer to wait, until all questions will get answered. And I think that sometimes maybe will cause things to get delayed to a point where you will miss some of the opportunity to shape the market, actually to shape the technology. And the work we're doing with operators today, because we work in cloud and in agile methodology, we have a build every 3 weeks, allowing us to be very fast and give quick turnaround. So we actually can take information or can take inputs from customers, implement them today, and I think that also helps to shape the industry. So I think waiting is one of the things that we see. I see some of the operators looking for do-it-yourself mode, where there are two types of operators. First, you need the DNA, and you need the skill set to be able to do it yourself. But in some other cases, OpenStack is free of charge. There are a set of open source. Why not just download it and start to play with it? I think it's a very good thing. I think it's a very good thing for operators to learn to play with, but it's not enough. And sometimes we feel that operators think that it's enough to start with, and then they get into this delta of, okay, how do I operate all of this open source, and how will I make it NFV ready with all the ingredients of network and so on. So that's another one. Maybe the third one is hardware first. And we saw also operators saying, I get it, I want to go to that direction, but let me first buy the hardware, commodity hardware, but I will buy it, map my entire network, and then we'll see. And that goes back to the starting point for creating vendor lock-in.
Yeah, absolutely.
You start with the hardware, and then
you're recreating history.
Exactly. And you get sold on the software stack that align exactly with this hardware. So I think that's another area that.
Is that because it's just an old-fashioned notion, or is it because people still feel they have to have the hardware there and make sure it's secure and they understand it before they start loading the software onto it? But I mean, the whole point about NFV is its network functions virtualization,
Yeah, it's a good question. I think some of it's probably because of legacy and DNA of organization. Some organizations feel that the saving will come on the CapEx. And it is true you can save dramatically on the CapEx, but if you look on the magnitude and the effect of the operational benefits in the OpEx, it's by far more dramatic. So we see some of the operators think about the CapEx, that's why they're looking on hardware. And then there is still, some of our fellow competitors are pushing their own bigger value and places that where they want to focus, which is the hardware, and try to pitch, this story about you are telco, please make sure you have high availability in the hardware and dual power supply and all these things that we finally, hopefully, will start to get rid of once we move to the NFV.
It's fascinating you should talk about openness like this, because of course NFV and SDN are predicated on the notion of openness. And we've seen in the industry the fact that the big carriers, the tier ones, tier twos, the telcos, the service providers say, hang on guys, you vendors, manufacturers, we've been really good to you, and you have basically taken us for a ride because we've been locked in. We want some of this, we don't want all of it, so the game's going to change and we're going to dictate what's happening. But in many cases you're seeing open standards not actually being that open because they've been produced by, basically as a piece of proprietary kit, IPR, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, I think that's another example of the evolvement in the market. Everybody spoke about openness to begin with. Everybody said multi-vendor. But now I think operators realize that it's more than just a slogan. If I will come as a vendor and I will have my proprietary APIs, but I will say to you, it's open, you can use them, it doesn't really mean openness. Openness means the ability to work with your competitors. Openness means that you can change VNFs and you can change infrastructure without changing the architecture or without creating expensive integration effort. And that is something we're trying to do with Cloudband. We have the ecosystem program that we're actually working with some of our competitors where they onboard their application on top of Cloudband. Some of it's coming from customers that are asking us to verify the different type of technology or different types of VNFs. So I think openness now, or I said to all the telcos, when vendor speaks about openness with you, you need to really verify what does it mean. It means that you actually done things with other vendors. Have you done things with your competitors? Have you done things with third-party vendors that can realize the technology and can show that I'm not in a lock-in situation? But I think openness is becoming a very key differentiator to some of the vendors in the market.
Well, my next question then, Guy, obviously is, so what is the reality of openness as far as Alcatel-Lucent is concerned?
Well, we actually just had an announcement with NTT Docomo about the work we're doing there in a multi-vendor approach. I think NTT Docomo really nicely leading the way with a virtual EPC, where we're working with some other parties where they providing the EPC, but also vice versa, with Alcatel-Lucent providing the EPC on other platforms. So we really, as Alcatel-Lucent, see openness on both sides, from the orchestration perspective, but also from the VNFs that can run on different types of platforms. So that is something that now is going on. We have other engagements that are looking to work with different parties. I think Probably 50% of our trials today are with Alcatel-Lucent VNS, while other trials are with third-party applications that run on top of Cloudbed.
What about the Linux Foundation and its OPNFV initiative? How different is that? Do you know anything about it? What do you think of it?
Yeah, of course. So first, we are a silver sponsor for the Linux Foundation. For the Open NFV platform, we are actually part of the board. So we're happy to do that. I think everything that helps to accelerate the process, it's a good thing. What I really like there is their focus about IoT to begin with, and to create a standardization that really, going back to multi-vendor, that really be able to capture the ability of different vendors working together. This is something that we are, we joined, we happily are going to promote that and work together with them, and we'll see how it's going to evolve. It's just starting.
Final question, indeed it has. Final question to you. Proof of concepts. Here at the event, there are 14 proof of concepts out in the halls. You can see them working. Are you involved in proofs of concept, not necessarily here, but elsewhere with Alcatel-Lucent?
Yeah, of course. So no, I cannot speak about all of them, but we have several announcements with Telefonica, with Docomo, with Korea Telecom, with Deutsche Telekom. We have more than 20 projects right now. I think most of them are with Tier 1, which is really fascinating because you can speak with an operator that has a bigger challenge. He has distributed locations, he needs to manage them all, have bigger operation process. So that's happening worldwide. We do anticipate first deployments in the first half of 2015. And I'm sure that next year when we'll meet, we'll speak about live deployments and how it's been worked out and what is the next phase on top of afterwards.
Well, I certainly hope so. In the meantime, Guy Shemesh, thanks for your time. Pleasure to meet you.
Thanks a lot.